We've all got 5 free transfers. I've already confirmed one, and my captaincy armband is currently not on Erling Haaland going into this weekend, despite everything he's done to those who have gone against him over the past few weeks. In today's video, we're going to take a look at my game week 16 team selection. I've got one chip left. It's the triple captain. It's probably not the week for it, but it could be played with a nice fixture for Arsenal this week. We'll look at potential transfers and what I plan on doing with my 5 free transfers, whether it's this week or going into game week 17 and 18 over the horizon. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here. Before we dive in, 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Game week 15 was awful until the last couple of players played, particularly because of Bruno Fernandes. Now, Phil Foden was early on in the game week and he got 12 points. But outside of that, I was looking at an awful lot of blanks. I almost got to the point where Chris Richards was the highest scoring Crystal Palace defender in a game week. And then Mark Guéhi, who lots of you own, went and scored in the last minute to win Crystal Palace the game. Now, he still got 4 points, but no real points to talk about apart from Phil Foden and my star of the game week in Bruno Fernandes. Now, if you are one of the people who's been very unfortunate to triple captain Haaland against Leeds in game week 13, go against Haaland midweek for Bruno Fernandes for Haaland to do well and Bruno to blank, to then go back to Haaland in game week 15 for Haaland to blank and the likes of Bruno Fernandes to do very well. I feel for you a lot because that is a big, big swing. But game week 15, I did get a green arrow. Thank you very much, Bruno Fernandes, for that. 165k up to 141k, 58 points overall. That is 3 above my safety score. Of course, that safety score was the number of points that you need in order to not change rank. It is taken from livefpl.net. And yes, Bruno Fernandes was my star of the game week. Things weren't going too well. I was on a red arrow to about 210k when I recorded my transfer plans video on Sunday evening. So he gets the star of the game week. Now, he was my vice captain. Yes, I would have loved to have him as my captain, but I never really considered it after the performance that Man United did put in against West Ham midweek. So let me know your scores, but particularly let me know who is getting your star of the game week for game week 15. Let's have a look at game week 16. Now, I need to apologize to you that this video is going to be up slightly later than it normally is at 9:30 on Thursday morning. That's because I recorded the whole thing, discussed transfer plans, discussed players to buy, and discussed my team. And we've had a couple of bits of big injury news on Wednesday evening, literally half an hour to an hour after I recorded that video. And then I went out in the evening, and so I'm up nice and early on Thursday morning to make sure I can get it up to you as soon as possible. The first big thing is that Timber was not included in the Arsenal squad on Wednesday evening in the Champions League. Now, I still think he's going to be okay. It sounds like he just had a knock. And with all the injuries that they've got mounting up, they can't really take any risks for him. Now, the only other caveat to that is they do have Wolves at home this week. And if he did need to have a week off, that is a pretty good fixture for them to do it. But I do think that Timber will be okay. However, the defender that is not going to be okay by the looks of it is Daniel Munoz, and he was very much in all of my transfer plans. So I basically had to completely re-record the video because I spent half my time saying Timber is fine and I'm going to buy Daniel Munoz next week. So that is my transfer plans. And I can't really do either of those things now. Well, I'm hoping that Timber will be okay. If you own Daniel Munoz, it looks like he's going to be out between 4 to 6 weeks with a knee injury. Sounds like he's either just had surgery or he's going to be having it over the next couple of days. He's not going to be in the squad for them in Europe on Thursday evening. It sounds like he's not going to be back and available until probably sometime in January, which could be game week 22, game week 23, which in FPL terms is a long time away. So if you've got him, we'll discuss replacements in a bit more detail in the complete guide. But just to discuss a few things, if you want to play them this week and you need a defender to play specifically in game week 16, Timber, if we get confirmation that he's going to be okay. Hincapié also of Arsenal is a good option at home to Wolves. It doesn't sound like Saliba is going to be back just yet. So you could punt on Ben White for a short period of time, but I probably would go for one of those two if we get the all clear on Timber. Chalobah of Chelsea with Everton at home this week, or Anderson of Fulham, who's just risen up to 4.6 million of Fulham away at Burnley this week. There are a few others that definitely become good, but don't have the best fixture this week. Mark Guéhi and Lacroix along with Richards if you only have Munoz as your only Crystal Palace defender. Now, I do expect this will make Crystal Palace worse. They are going to be without Sarr going to AFCON. They're now without Daniel Munoz. It doesn't look like Mateta is fully fit to play 90 minutes every week. And with some of their upcoming fixtures, this is definitely going to impact them. But I still like some of the Crystal Palace defenders, and I think it's worth having one with some of the cheap options that they do have in their team. Outside of that, Everton from game week 18 look great. So if you don't actually need a defender either this week or in game week 17 when Everton play Arsenal, someone like a Keane probably or a Tarkowski, but Keane's probably worth the saving. The only slight caveat to him is that when Branthwaite returns from injury, he might take the place from Keane, but that's not expected until the back end of January, if not into February, which is a long time away. Also at Manchester City, they go away to Crystal Palace this week, so not the best week to buy. But West Ham at home in game week 17, and nice fixtures going on then onwards. Gvardiol, O'Reilly, a few others to mention. You could look at Newcastle. They go away to Sunderland this week. Maybe not the best, especially given their away form this season. Or you could go to Van Heck. But of course, he also goes to Liverpool. The other option is you could buy Virgil van Dijk if there's part of you that still trusts Liverpool. But these are probably the best replacements if you're looking to sell him. And it just depends on what you want to do with the money. So let's have a look at my team for game week 16. And we need to discuss a few things, particularly defenders and the Enzo Fernandez spot, which is still causing me a bit of a headache. In goal, I've got David Raya at home to Wolves. Like him long term. Still not certain he's definitely worth the money, but when there's lots of things going wrong over the Christmas period, just having him every week as part of that Arsenal defence, I don't have any issue with. Into defence, we do have Timber. I'm doubling up on Arsenal, and he is a slight doubt, given he didn't feature at all for Arsenal in the Champions League on Wednesday, despite travelling as part of the squad to Belgium, which then to be left out completely, Arsenal also didn't name a full bench, is a slight concern. It does sound like he just has a knock, so we are probably expecting him to return again to the Arsenal lineup for Wolves at home at the weekend in that late kickoff, but it's not guaranteed. Now, I still think I'd probably end up holding on to him unless we got confirmation that he was definitely out. If he was completely ruled out and Arteta said, yep, he's out, he's not going to play, he's not available, that's the situation I would then look to sell him. And the only reason I would then sell him rather than just benching him is it would make my Enzo Fernandez replacement much easier this week because I would quite like to buy Declan Rice. And I think having a triple up on Arsenal this week is quite a good thing. And at home to Wolves is a great fixture. So it's not just quite a good thing. It's probably the best team in the league to have a triple up on. So if we don't get anything on Timber, I'm just going to roll with him, play him, and hope that Richards or Rodon sub in off the bench. The other thing I could do is upgrade someone like a Rodon to another cheap defender. But the only other cheap defender that I really like this week that I think would be an improvement is Anderson against Burnley. And of course, I already own him. So unless we get Timber being absolutely ruled out, in which case I would probably look to buy Declan Rice as my other third Arsenal in his place and in place of Enzo Fernandez, in which case I would do Timber to someone cheaper, maybe like an O'Reilly with good fixtures coming up for Manchester City, who also scored in the Champions League last night. But if that's not the case, I will just keep Timber. Anderson is in. Again, they've not been that great, but they have performed well in a few of the games that you want them to. They feel quite predictable from a defensive point of view. In the games you expect them to concede chances to good teams, they normally do. But at home particularly, it's not great when they're away, but against teams where you expect them or hope that they do quite well, they actually tend to, which is quite nice from an FPL point of view. Virgil van Dijk was going to go over the next couple of weeks to buy Daniel Munoz. That was going to be a transfer that I had planned or booked in. And with Crystal Palace not having Munoz and looking a little bit weaker, I'm likely to keep Virgil van Dijk for Brighton at home, Spurs away, Wolves at home, Leeds at home in the next 4. And then I'll probably look to deal with him after that. Richards is on the bench, currently first sub. But with the Daniel Munoz news, I might end up playing Rodon above him, although I've just bought Thiago. So they're not great between them. So hopefully Richards could get DEFCON. Into my midfield. So Fernandez, Foden and Saka are pretty much locks in my team and a lot of people's teams. You might not be able to get up to Saka, but given you've got him, you're not going to be taking him out. He got a full rest in the Champions League midweek, didn't start that game, which was great to see. He does need a few minutes off. The only slight caveat and negative to that is Noni Madueke scored, right, and looked pretty good in that game. I think he won man of the match, which does mean that if Arteta does need to give Saka a rest, it was last Christmas, I believe, that he didn't get a rest and he ended up doing that big injury against Crystal Palace. So if Saka is needing a rest, he has an option to give it to him. And I don't expect it to be this weekend, but over Christmas, we might not see Saka play quite as many minutes as we're used to. But he's in and he got a nice rest midweek, which makes him a good pick to Wolves. And they also have a nice midweek off after that. Foden is in and Bruno Fernandes is in. Foden also got reduced minutes in the Champions League midweek. Elliot Anderson, I don't mind. He almost scored against Everton. Hopefully he gets DEFCON against Spurs. It's a home fixture. Hopefully Murillo is back for Nottingham Forest and they start to look a little bit better than they have done over the past couple of games. Do I wish I had Dewsbury Hall? Long term, yes. The next couple of weeks, no. Could I also have Harry Wilson in this spot? Is he also a better short-term punt than Anderson? Yes, also probably the case, but I'm not sure it's worth a transfer. Like, I could do Anderson to Harry Wilson for the next couple before going to Dewsbury Hall in a couple of weeks. That is something I've considered. I'm just not really sure it's worth the transfer. Although when we've got 4, there are some luxury things like that that I should be considering. But I think I'm going to keep hold of Anderson. And the final one is Enzo Fernandez of Chelsea. This is the spot that's really causing me a bit of pain. And actually, if Timber was to be out, Timber to someone else in order to do Enzo up to Declan Rice and use my third Arsenal spot there is probably the best place to go. Because if you've got Bruno, Foden and maybe Saka, I think Declan Rice is probably the 4th best midfielder in the game to buy at the moment. Other ones I've considered, you can have a look at Minter. The only issue is he's not looked as good over the past couple of games. He's playing quite deep and he goes away to Liverpool this week. I could go to Dewsbury Hall like I've mentioned, but it's not a great couple of games for him. I could go to Harry Wilson, free up a bit of money. But actually, if I don't need to buy Munoz, I don't really need that money. So I may as well sell Elliot Anderson to Harry Wilson instead. Semenyo I could go to for Man United and then Burnley at home next week. That is absolutely something I'm considering. If I keep Enzo for Everton at home, which is currently the plan, in game week 17, I could look to do Enzo out to buy Semenyo for Burnley at home in game week 17. Bruno Guimaraes, I'm not sure I still love him as a pick. I think he's fine, but away at Sunderland, I just find too difficult to call. And probably the last one is Dominic Szoboszlai of Liverpool. Looks like he has penalty share now. I still expect Alexander Isak to take them when he's on the pitch, but Isak can't play every single minute. And we know that, and we've seen that recently. He's still not up to fitness. He's playing slightly more advanced with the sort of front 2 that it looks like they're going with. He's on some set pieces that we've seen, and he has penalty share. So I don't have that much bad to say about Szoboszlai. It's just that he's also on 4 yellow cards. And the fixture that I would really want him for is Wolves at home in game week 18. So if he was to get booked in game week 17 against Spurs and I bought him, I would feel really like that was a bad idea. I'd feel really silly if I bought him for Brighton at home, Spurs away, and then he gets booked before playing Wolves at home. So Szoboszlai really feels like one I'll review once we get to game week 17, and I might take a punt for game week 18 for Wolves at home, Leeds at home. So something like an Enzo for this week, then Semenyo next week for Burnley before going to Szoboszlai for Wolves and Leeds is absolutely something I am considering. But at the moment, none of the options really stand out as being better than Enzo this week. I do expect he'll probably play deeper for Chelsea this game whilst Caicedo remains out. We might see Reece James and Enzo deep. We might say Reece James and Andre Santos with Enzo further forward. But with Palmer being back and probably back to start in this game, I don't expect that to be the case. I'm not expecting loads from Enzo, but I think a lot of the replacements I like are actually better next week, like a Semenyo or like a Szoboszlai, seeing how he gets on with his yellow cards. Then up front, Haaland is in and Thiago was my transfer. Mark Guiu on the bench with Delap's injury. He might get more minutes. I don't expect him to start, and I don't think he's that great even when he does. In terms of captaincy, that is the only thing that is left. And with the rest midweek for Bukayo Saka, he currently has the captaincy armband. Arsenal also scoring goals, which is good to see, even when he's not in the team. I love the Wolves fixture. Wolves looked absolutely dreadful, even against Man United on Monday night. He currently has the armband with Haaland having the vice captain. I'm going to review how Crystal Palace get on Thursday night. If they look tired, it might make me revert back to going to Haaland because I do think City will probably win that fixture with the amount of fatigue and the injuries that Crystal Palace are facing at the moment. So I don't think it's clear cut. But if there's ever a time to go against Haaland, he'll probably be my triple captain in game week 17 at home to West Ham. At home to Wolves for Saka is probably the best time to do it. So the plan for me is probably to roll my other 4 free transfers. I am considering Elliot Anderson to Harry Wilson for a short-term punt. I am considering Enzo Fernandez out to someone like a Szoboszlai or a Semenyo for a short-term punt there as well. But I think most likely is I just do the Thiago move, which is already confirmed from earlier on in the week, roll my other 4, and then it's just Saka or Haaland captain. We'll discuss captaincy a little bit more in the complete guide video on Friday afternoon. If you've got other questions you want discussed in that video to make sure you've got everything you need for the game week 16 deadline. We will also do an updated wildcard draft and free hit now that Daniel Munoz looks like a doubt. Well, it looks like he's out and Timber is also a doubt. So we'll update both of those drafts on Friday. But anything else you want, drop it all in the comment section down below. Apologies that this video is slightly late, but I had to re-record everything after the Timber news and after the Daniel Munoz move, because both of them were pretty focal to my team over the next couple of weeks. Anyway, let's wrap it up there. Let me go and edit this to get it out to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new, and I'll be back again very soon.